What will push one away from JoJo's Bizarre Adventures? Now, this video will be a little bit different because I am kind of sick. That's part of the reason y'all have been getting very short videos for the past 3 days. And I do not have my mic. So again, the audio will be trash. But I do want to ask this question because it has been on my mind and I have been thinking about it. What moments push people away from JoJo's Bizarre Adventures? Now, someone sent this to me in a comment maybe like 3 or 4 days ago. And if I had to pick a moment to start or like character, because it said moment slash character. Honestly, I feel like, at least in the early parts, there aren't really any characters that would necessarily push you away from JoJo's Bizarre Adventures. Maybe Jonathan. Only reason I say Jonathan is because a lot of people, they're just like, Jonathan's so boring. They don't really care much for him. They don't care much for his story or what he's doing. And yeah, I 100% get that, you know. But I personally, I was locked into like, I can't call him boring personally, but I can see how people saw that, I guess. There's that. Some people also say they felt like part 1 was like ultra fast. Like as far as pacing goes, I feel like part 1 and part 2 were mad fast, which again, I don't disagree. The speed in which you watch part 2 is honestly crazy. Like, cause I finished part 2 in a day, I want to say. If it wasn't a day, it was 2 days. And I was left at the end just wanting more, just wanting to see more, to see how they interact more, to see more of what's going on with Joseph and the Pillarmen, and maybe just get a little bit more on the Pillarmen. But you know, as like I got further in the series and I realized that parts 1 and 2, they just weren't, at the time, they weren't that popular in Japan. So like they weren't getting all those chapters and stuff compared to part 3 and on. It made a lot more sense. But like that, I see that as something that could like push people away. Because imagine you're watching part 2, you finish part 2 fast, then you go immediately to part 3, and you're leaving these 12 episodes, 13 episodes to now you're watching 48 episodes. That's a big ass jump. That's 4 times the jump. I mean, I could throw in as far as for like characters, I could throw in Stroheim. Because again, a lot of people, they do enjoy Stroheim, but a lot of people do not like Stroheim. I didn't really care much for him. That's why I don't really talk about him. Also, I won't talk about Nazis on my channel, just no matter what. That's just a me thing. I don't know. But yeah, I didn't have too much of an issue with Von Stroheim, but I do feel like he's definitely a point that could be that could push people away from watching JoJo's Bizarre Adventures. As we go into the later parts though, you see a little bit more. Like in part 3, you have the orangutan, you have the part 3, there's actually a lot of moments where you're just like, oh wow. Because part 3, I feel like is where the real bizarreness happens. Like part 2, it was still very bizarre. You still had a lot of moments where like, how the fuck that happened? But part 3 is definitely where you're definitely like, how the fuck that happened? How did we get here? You know what I mean? Because in part 3, you have Manish Boy, the baby stand. You have what's that one? Not Manish Boy. You have Alessi and his stand and his perverted ways. You have fucking Strength and his stand and his perverted ways. Like part 3, it was definitely a lot of bizarreness. If it was ever a time where we're getting really bizarre, it's part 3. You also have the time when Joseph and Abdul were stuck together magnetically, and it looked like they were doing all different sexual things. Like, I still remember with that in particular, I still remember seeing it like years and years before I ever watched JoJo's Bizarre Adventures to be like, what the fuck is this? I was so confused. I didn't know what the fuck was going on. I was literally looking at that shit like, how do we even get to that point? Part 3 is definitely the part that has like, I would say, the most characters that would definitely push one away from wanting to watch JoJo's Bizarre Adventures. Because why am I watching this Alessi nigga saying, I'm going to make you into a fetus to these grown people saying, I'm gonna make him into a fetus. And you know, he turned a woman into a fetus. I don't want to watch that. I'm sorry, I don't. I've never rewatched the Alessi episode because I hate that nigga. Well, part 4, you know, there's what's the guy? Angelo. Yeah, there's Angelo. Where like, I feel like Angelo can definitely be off-putting, mainly just because he bit the dog's head off. Then he forced the owner's mouth open and made him eat the dog. Like, he spit the dog into him. That's fucked up. That's very off-putting, unsettling, all the words. Really, that's the main thing I can remember though. I feel like it was mainly, for part 4, it was mainly Angelo that would throw someone off. Angelo and first appearance Rohan. I say first appearance Rohan because that nigga was licking spiders. Like, literally, no. Imagine someone moves into your neighborhood, you go to greet him, and you go in his house, and he's eating centipedes. What the fuck are you doing? What are you doing? The thing with JoJo's Bizarre Adventures is it has a lot of moments. It has a lot of moments within it to where it may be a little bit off-putting, but like not as much. I feel like as we get to the later parts, it's not as off-putting. A little bit. As a matter of fact, I take that back. Because then you look at something like part 7, and there are a few things I could say that's off-putting in part 7. One of the first things that actually shocked me, which even though I understood it, but it still shocked me, was when this nigga Johnny shot himself. I was like, whoa. Whoa. I was really like, wait, Johnny, why did you... Even though I understood it, like, as it was explained as, like, fight against Axl Rose and Civil War went on, I understood it, but it was still very shocking, you know what I mean? Then, with part 7, still, is those whole 2 chapters of Lucy and Funny Valentine. Because even after Funny Valentine tries to, you know, sexually assault her, and continues to try, and Lucy gets away and hides herself in a closet, we find that Lucy is now pregnant with the Saint's corpse head. I was like, oh, wow. Mind you, this is after throughout this Steel Ball Run, Lucy is getting flirted with by Mountain Tim, by Scarlet Valentine. Like, you're just like, wow, this is a 14-year-old. What are we doing? That's literally the first thought that goes to your brain, because you're like, what the fuck is happening? Or even at the start of part 8, when they get back to, I believe it was Yoshikage Kira's house, and it was just a woman naked in there. Homeless woman, I believe. Just naked in the tub. It was like, what is going on? Because mind you, that's like ultra early in part 8. Like, super unbelievably early in part 8. I was really like, there's no way we're starting part 8 off like this. But we are. That is how we're starting it off. 100%. Speaking of part 8, a character who obviously could push someone away from watching or reading JoJo's Bizarre Adventures is Joshu. I 100% believe that. And that's not even like on some... This isn't necessarily on Joshu hate. It's just Joshu as a character. He's already described by Araki as a hopeless character. There's no hope for him. He's not going to get better. This is who he is. And at the end of the day, he lost the arm because he believed he was doing the right thing. So I have to give him that. And then with part 6, well, part 6 is perfect to me, so we don't even have to talk about the flaws in part. Okay. Let me stop doing that. Let me not do that. With part 6, if anything was to push you away from part 6, like characters, I don't feel like there are really any characters in part 6 that would necessarily push you away. You know, part 6 surprisingly does not have a really bad gooner character. You know what I mean? Like, or not even good, like just sexually charged character. And now that I'm thinking about it, it's kind of weird because, like, you look at part 3, they had Strength, part 4, Angelo, part 5, Malone. Part 6 had to have somebody. Like, who had a stand that was damn near fully sexually charged. I don't know. Maybe they don't. But one thing that could off-put people is, I don't know, the Jolene masturbation scenes and like the scenes where she's just naked. Well, honestly over the years, I've seen it attract some fans and lose some fans. At the end of the day, it's all up to you. But yeah, if you did enjoy this video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. You know, we're on the road to 5K, so anything helps. And until next time, peace.